Hey, what's up, everybody? Dr. Jaws here, and we are back for episode 151 featuring the Grey Smoothhound, Mustelus californicus. So, we're going to spend a heck of a lot of time in California today. And kind of ironic because sunny California is such an opposite of cold, freezing February. This February 2026 is already extremely cold, just historic snows here in Virginia. But it's nice to study a species that lives in a sunnier place. And I'm actually really excited to cover another smoothhound species because it's actually a pretty diverse group of sharks. There's quite a few species in this family, the family Triacidae. On the east coast of the United States, we have the dusky smoothhound, which is one of my personal favorite sharks. They are really cool animals that are actually able to change their skin color, where they can lighten their skin. It takes about 30 minutes, but they can lighten their skin if they're swimming over a sandy substrate, or they can darken their skin if they're swimming over a muddy substrate. So, and the East Coast species, the Mustelus canis, the dusky smoothhound, is very populous in the like all along the Atlantic coast. Learn more about its cousin, the Grey Smoothhound. There's a lot of research on the species, similar to the dusky smoothhound. There's actually quite a lot of literature on this species, so I'm assuming it's probably fairly abundant as well. And I'm excited to see if there's any other shared characteristics, specifically the color changing. That would be actually really cool if that's something that both species share. So we'll go ahead and dive in. We'll kind of learn more about how the smoothhound just lives in terms of its basic biology. And then we'll dive into some deeper science and we'll kind of see what we can see. So I think before we get started, what's kind of cool is comparing this shark with dusky smoothhounds. It's definitely in the same family, Triacidae. A couple of the key characteristics are a long, slender body, and two dorsal fins that are pretty large, and they're roughly the same size. Or the second dorsal fin is roughly comparable in size to the first dorsal fin, which is interesting. Wherein most sharks, or not most sharks, but many sharks, a lot of the famous ones that we're used to, the second dorsal fin is significantly smaller than the first. All the dorsal fins are broadly rounded, so kind of like a nice smooth shape, not really like pointy as in other species. And the snout is also kind of like smoothly rounded as well, so you can kind of get how they get their name, Smooth-hound. They have these beautiful elongated eyes. And similar to dusky smoothhounds, these sharks have like these beautiful, like almost like opal eyes. But it looks like the head is a little bit bigger, the dusky smoothhounds. The second dorsal fin also looks a little bit more angled. The caudal fin is a little bit more weakly developed, so it kind of hints at where the shark lives, and specifically, it likes to spend most of its time sort of near the seabed, hunting benthic animals like crabs, like mollusks, whelks. They have these really cool teeth that are very flat, and they're modified to crush prey. So they don't have like the pointy teeth like you typically think of for sharks. Smoothhounds have like a set of pavement-like teeth, like this whole set of teeth that work functionally together as like a single slab to help crush prey. So it's a really interesting group of animals. So I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get started and learn about the Grey Smoothhound. So this photograph is from one of my favorite shark websites, Sharks and Rays. This is a shark diving website specifically. So there's a couple places we've seen that talk about shark biology, but this, I really love that the angle is more on shark diving. So we'll go ahead and take a look at some basic facts on the Grey Smoothhound's shark, Mustelus californicus. So common names, at least in English, just Grey Smoothhound or Grey Smoothhound shark. Identification, slender body, so characteristic of the triacids. Let's see, small visible spiracle right behind the eye. Let's see, first and second dorsal fin margins unfrayed. Lower caudal lobe indistinct. Dorsal coloration gray-brown. Fins may be dusky with subtle white margins. Interestingly, this is interesting. There are several reports of albinism in this species. Albino sharks are not that uncommon, but multiple albinos of the same species is unusual. All these records are from animals collected from I don't know if you say slough or slough, Elkhorn Slough, California. One adult female contained 10 embryos, 5 of which were albino. That's extremely interesting, actually. We've seen some examples of albino sharks or sharks with interesting pigment differences in pigment. So I think the more famous one that happened last year was a nurse shark that had a specific kind of genetic mutation that created this like beautiful, brilliant orange pigment. So this is bright orange, this gorgeous, vibrantly orange nurse shark, which is really cool. So albinism, I think we might have seen it at least once before in a different species, but it's interesting that this species, the Grey Smoothhound, has kind of multiple instances of albinism. So it'll be cool as we go through the research tonight to see if what we can learn related to that. So size, maximum length is 116 centimeters, so fairly small, like about 3 to 4 feet. So there was a report of a 1.6 meters or 163 centimeter specimen, but this is probably an error based on average size of other adults. Conservation status is least concern, so that's fantastic to see. On the east coast of the United States, dusky smoothhounds are nearly threatened, so that's actually comparatively pretty good. The west coast, it's nice to see that this smoothhound species is the best status it could be, which is least concern. The Grey Smoothhound is caught by recreational fishers as bycatch in commercial fisheries off California. It is a targeted species and bycatch component in trawl and gillnet fisheries off Mexico. Due to its fast growth rate and early age of maturity, it appears to be able to withstand the current level of fishing pressure. However, more accurate species-specific monitoring is required in this region. So, great image of the Grey Smoothhound as well. So these are beautiful sharks. Like I love this family. This the Smoothhound family Triachidae is just a gorgeous set of sharks. Species we've covered on this channel have been the rig, or I think we did the starry Smoothhound too. And then probably the most famous one is the leopard shark. So the leopard shark, the one that lives in also in California, is arguably the most famous triachid. They're big, they're spotted, they're beautiful. They actually have pointier teeth, which is kind of interesting. But these sharks just have this interesting, sleek, graceful. I think graceful is probably the best way to describe this family, where it's just like they're just everything, every detail about these sharks. They're just elongated, rounded, they're harmless. They are just like these really beautiful sharks to dive with and snorkel with and just spend time with, where you're in a completely safe environment. And they have a lot of the characteristics of like the larger sharks that, you know, are a lot more famous, but there's still some interesting things that make these animals unique. Namely, the second dorsal fin being as large as it is kind of an interesting trait. The two dorsal fins being as tall as they are, it's kind of like this cool, like commanding presence, even though it's like, you know, a smaller shark. And then again, the eyes are just gorgeous on these animals. So typically smoothhounds have these beautiful jewel-like eyes, and I don't know why they do look like that. I mean, all sharks' eyes are beautiful, but there's just something about the smoothhounds that are just like, it's just kind of especially spectacular. So. Habitat, a temperate water species inhabiting shallow, muddy, or sandy bays and estuaries. So it's similar to the dusky smoothhound. So these sharks like to be in full seawater, or they can actually enter into a mix of salt and fresh water. Present in deeper water closer to the equator, surface to 256 meters, 2 to 45 meters in California. It's found from northern California, tip of the Baja Peninsula, and throughout the Sea of Cortez. It's a live-bearing shark. Gestation is 11 months, so it's actually pretty okay for sharks. That's not slow, not too quick. Birthing occurs in Gulf of California in April through May. The diet of this animal predates heavily on crustaceans, somatopods, and crabs, and also feeds on small bony fishes and mollusks. So these sharks tend to be crab specialists. On the east coast, the dusky smoothhound hunts lobster in particular, as well as crabs. On the west coast, it's interesting to see that the shark is going after crabs as well. So these sharks, again, they spend a lot of their time near the bottom. So and crabs are a very common prey item in that area. So Behavior. Large aggregations of gray smooth-hound sharks can be found in shallow water during the fall and winter months in central California. They are rarely seen at other times of year. So that's actually interesting because that means they are probably around central California right now, since we are at the tail end of winter. Reaction to divers. Rarely seen by divers, retreats quickly when approached. Diving logistics. 1 or 2 gray smooth-hound sharks can sometimes be seen in the La Jolla area in late summer, mixed in with large schools of leopard hound sharks that migrate through that area. I have seen, so I, as in Andy Merck, is the author of this website. He's a fantastic shark conservationist and a fantastic wildlife photographer, specializing in sharks and rays. I've seen one in a handful of visits while snorkeling at a spot called the Marine Room. In July through early September, this is a great place to see scores of leopard hound sharks, although the visibility is often poor and the ocean can be quite rough in the surf zone where they are generally hunting. Grey smoothhounds are occasionally seen from the bank by kayakers at Elkhorn Slough Nature Reserve south of San Francisco. The water is not very clear in the muddy bay, but the sharks have to traverse very shallow bars on their way into the slough. I apologize if I'm not saying this correctly. This is kind of an odd word, slough or slough. So you can sometimes see their fins breaking the surface. So it's really cool that even though these are kind of rarely encountered, we got some great photographs, or Andy took these amazing photographs of smooth-hound shark. And actually this individual is interesting where it's swimming kind of in mid-water column. So you can see very clearly it's beautiful. I want to say this ridge right here, I can't tell if that's where the lateral line is, or that it probably is where the lateral line is. So the pressure sensing organ that all fish have, and sharks included. So I think that's roughly where it is, where that ridge is, that really prominent ridge is present. It's roughly around where the lateral line is. So if animals make movement in the water, they create these vibrations that create changes in pressure, and all fish can do this, but sharks can feel those changes in pressure and react accordingly, which is extremely cool. So again, just beautiful, sleek shape in these sharks. Another great shot of the eye here, and yeah, just beautiful photographs. So nice little profile of the head right here. And from this angle, you can kind of see how the eyes are ovate on these animals. So it's another thing that kind of makes them a little bit different looking from other sharks. So, oh, Howard, welcome back. Oh no, please don't apologize. I'm so glad to see you. I'm so glad that you're back. Hope you're doing well and staying warm. I know it's been an extremely cold winter. I can't imagine what it's like up in Canada. Because like down here, it's been. I mean, we're definitely getting the Arctic blast in terms of like. And I actually slipped and fell. I hit my we had high winds Saturday, and our grill cover was starting to blow away. So I was going outside to go grab it, and then I just completely slipped, and like my face landed on the grill cover. So it was a day, but it's extremely icy out here. So hope you're staying warm. We're trying. It's supposed to warm up a little bit down here this week, hopefully. So, but glad you could be here for smooth-hounds. This gray smooth-hound is a really interesting species. I don't know if you were here at the top of the stream, but one interesting thing that we learned about this shark is that it's apparently there's a lot of instances of albinism. So this species has multiple instances of albino individuals, which is kind of interesting, and I'm not sure what would cause that. So, but we're just seeing some great photographs of the gray smooth-hound. Oh, I like this one. Nice little shot of just the shark swimming. Bad cold snap here too, I suppose, to warm up this week. Glad you're okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. By the way, kind of funny fact. So I'm studying more sharks that occur on the U.S. Mid-Atlantic coast. This is a Pacific species. This is a species native to mostly California, but the Pacific coast. But what's interesting is in the sharks I've been studying on the Atlantic coast, I'm surprised how many of them are in the International Shark Attack file. Most of them being like weird incidents, like freak accidents, like not really dangerous sharks, but the first shark that I started to stumble across is completely harmless is a smooth-hound. Because like dogfish would be harmless except for the fact they have the spines on their dorsal fins, but smooth-hounds, it's kind of cool to see. It's like there's pretty much no incidents with these sharks whatsoever. It's like it's a really good starter shark as far as it's completely safe to be in the water with. They're very shy. They are quite small, comparatively small, like about 3 to 4 feet long. Maybe some I think can get to be about 5 feet. But no spines on the dorsal fins, no pointy teeth. These would be just fantastic sharks to swim with. It's like the safest, nicest shark. So it's really cool to see another member of this family. This family is actually fairly speciose at about, I want to say there's like 20 to 30 species of smooth-hounds. So I'm glad we get to cover another one tonight. So we have a little bit of footage to review. So this is one in the Laguna Beach State Marine Reserve. So not a lot of clips available, but it'll be kind of cool to see what we could see. So here's one just chilling out on the seabed. This looks to be like a smaller individual, so maybe a subadult, or maybe just like a juvenile. So these sharks are born live. Actually, that might be a juvenile. It's really cool to see that. So, like, this is another shark that breaks the myth that sharks need to swim in order to breathe. Many sharks do not need to do that. They can actually sit comfortably on the seabed and pump water over their gills. And this shark, this smooth-hound, is a great example of that. So it's kind of cool to see he's just chilling near little fronds of kelp, just taking a look at this diver, not really moving, not really reacting. It's actually kind of cool to see the two dorsal fins, as large as they are, sway with the current. And that kind of reminds me of horn sharks, where horn sharks are similar. And horn sharks have the two large dorsal fins, especially when they're younger, they have proportionally very, very large dorsal fins as a means of camouflage to kind of look like kelp fronds. So I'm not sure if that's why smooth-hounds also have large dorsal fins, but kind of interesting. Just kind of seeing them sway. I don't know if this helps in camouflage or not, since the sharks are gray. Speaking of camouflage, East Coast smooth-hounds can change the color, and I'm curious if West Coast smooth-hounds, like this gray smooth-hound, if they're able to do that too. So I'm going to keep an eye out for that as we go into the research tonight. But really cool to see some wild footage of this animal just kind of chilling on the seabed. So really cool world that it lives in. Little guy just near the kelp and enjoying the ocean current. We have a couple other clips. Here's one at Bolsa Chica Ecological Reserve. So water's a bit murkier, but cool view of how the shark swims. So smooth-hounds have almost like a snake-like movement. So they hold the first part of their body pretty stiffly, but that's a great shot actually. But the passive pectoral fins, it's definitely a lot more sinusoidal, so a lot more serpentine. So cool. Here's one that is captive, and it's actually getting close to doing something that many smooth-hounds in captivity do, which is a version of spy hopping. So this is a shark that's lifting its head above the water, and that could be a feeding thing where maybe at the time that this was filmed, the shark is accustomed to the aquarist feeding it at this time, so that might be why it's doing it. But spy hopping is the behavior of sharks lifting their head out of the water. The most famous shark that does this is the great white, or the white shark, I should say. It's really the only species that does it regularly, but I've heard of dogfish, but dogfish and smooth-hounds, I've heard of them doing it too, and it's kind of cool to see a clip of a smooth-hound getting close to spy hopping behavior, where it's swimming with its head lifted above the water. Another great view of its eyes too. Last clip we have is from California Wildlife, of a smooth-hound swimming close ashore. So imagine if you were standing on rocks, probably just like looking out in the water, and then a shark just passes you. Such a cool feeling. The closest I've ever been to that has been I've talked about, what was it called? Bald Head. I think it's Bald Head Island in North Carolina, where I was just wading in ankle deep water and this beautiful bonnethead shark just swam right past me. So it's so cool to see like sharks in such shallow water. You don't expect them to be there, but they're just kind of cruising by. I would love, love, love to see a smooth-hound in the wild, this close to the shore. That would be such a cool sight. And it's highly possible, where I'm in Virginia, in the Chesapeake Bay, there are some beaches near the mouth of the bay where smooth-hounds do give birth and pup. And I've seen like pups washed up on the shore, but I've never seen smooth-hounds swimming in life. So I was just kind of rambling, but I would love to see a smooth-hound shark in real life this close to shore. It would be so, so cool. It's just such an interesting. I mean, all sharks are amazing, but it's just like these are particularly interesting sharks, and it's just to be a thrill, like just to see one so close. So this individual is kind of notable as far as like it looks like he has some scars on his back. So I'm gonna play this clip one more time. But very active swimmers. Smooth-hounds are known to be very active swimmers, constantly patrolling for food. Sometimes smooth-hounds are given the name dogfish, and I really don't like that, just because it's a completely different group of sharks versus the dogfish, like spiny dogfish or spur dogs. They're completely different groups of sharks from smooth-hounds. But the reason why they get that name is because smooth-hounds like to swim in packs or schools, and they can aggregate to pretty sizable numbers. So, for comparison, and this is a really cool clip. I really really am enjoying this. Just like seeing this gray smooth-hound on the Pacific coast, just cruising near the shore. For comparison, I do want to go to the Dr. Jaws channel, because no, not my Google account, the Dr. Jaws channel, because I am putting together, you may have seen it, playlists. I'm putting together a new playlist of, and it's constantly growing, but it's sharks that live in this part of the world, whether it's the cold season or the warm season. So, and I do have a dusky smooth-hound clip that I want to play just for comparison. Here we go. Okay. So just move. Yeah, there we go. So this is going to be, I'm just going to let this load for a second, but this is going to be kind of like a cool clip of, we won't watch the whole thing, but we'll take a look at, this is off of, I want to say this is Massachusetts, so this is either New York, Long Island Sound or Massachusetts, so, but this is just a camera rig that's just kind of floating down into the seabed. And it doesn't take very long for many sharks to appear, including the Atlantic cousin of the Grey Smoothhound, which is the Dusky Smoothhound. So we'll kind of see the water sway back and forth. One thing about these temperate seas, they're green with plankton. They have so much bounty, so much marine life. You can actually see little bits here and there that some of them are comb jellies, some of those are ctenophores, some of them are just like fish larvae or zooplankton, just like little things here and there that characterize this part of the sea, where it's just very, very, it's not as biodiverse as like tropical areas, but it's very, what's the word? I know there's a word for this. It's like high biomass. But here is a clip of dusky smoothhound sharks, and a nice shot of how they school together, and they're constantly searching for food, constantly patrolling close to the bottom. Immediately, they do look quite different from the gray smoothhound, where you can tell these sharks are a little bit more slender looking, and they actually have more prominent white margins on their fins. So, So it's really cool to see them kind of in action where they're just unbothered by the camera rig. They're just cruising and patrolling, and this is a pretty large school too. So in one frame, I'm seeing like 6 individuals, but it's probably like a much larger school overall. Smooth-hound sharks are really interesting, both the Grey Smoothhound and Dusky Smooth-hound, in that they both grow and mature very quickly compared to other sharks. So that's helped them sustain a lot of fishing pressure. And it's actually kind of astonishing how quickly they grow, where if you compare it to the similarly sized spiny dogfish, I think their gestation period is like 2 years, and they take like maybe 18 years to reach sexual maturity. They are very, very late in terms of being able to reproduce. But smoothhound sharks, they can mature in, I think, 5 to 10 years, and actually 5 to 7, and they give birth after 11 months, which is incredible. Or not incredible, but that's like a winning combination as far as resisting a lot of fishing pressure. So these sharks are doing well. It's great to see sharks that are actually okay, that can withstand a lot of anthropogenic impact well. And that, we'll always have an ocean with sharks. It's just going to be a question of like which sharks will dominate and which sharks will really fare better kind of in this day and age than other sharks. And smoothhounds, kind of in the face of like human impact, they have a good survival strategy, and they are doing really, really well. And that, namely, is that they grow quickly and reproduce quickly as far as sharks go. But really cool to see, in comparison, the Atlantic version of smoothhounds in the form of the dusky smoothhound. So we'll go back to tonight's species, the Grey Smoothhound. Sorry, I'm just hopping back, hoping I'm not crashing anything. Okay, there we go. There's a Grey Smoothhound. So speaking of conservation, we'll take a look at the official IUCN Red List assessment for Grey Smoothhounds. So we established earlier that they are least concern, and this is their range. So they live almost exclusively in California and then Baja California, Mexico. So around the Baja Peninsula and then also Sea of Cortez. The Grey Smoothhound is a small shark in the eastern central Pacific Ocean from northern California to Mexico in the southeastern Gulf of California. It is demersal on the continental shelf at depths from the surface to 265 meters. The Grey Smoothhound is a productive species with an early age of maturity of 2 to 3 years. So it's even much more quick, or much quicker than I was expecting. 2 to 3 years, moderate fecundity of 2 to 16 pups, and annual reproduction. Is targeted and caught incidentally and retained for its meat, mainly by trawl and demersal gill nets in the Gulf of California, artisanal and small-scale fisheries. Reconstructed Mustelus species catches from the Gulf suggest a stable population over the past 3 generation lengths. Given the productivity of the species and stable catches where it is mostly caught, the Grey Smoothhound is assessed as least concern. So wonderful news that this shark, or not news, but wonderful biology that the shark is actually doing okay. So again, in the world where many sharks are threatened, it's wonderful to see yet another species that is actually least concerned. So, we'll take a look at Florida Museum of Natural History for some general biology on the Grey Smoothhound. Let's see. So this small, slender shark has a pointed snout and large oval eyes, and triangular fins with a lobed asymmetrical caudal fin. Brownish gray on top and fading to light underbelly, usually grow to 46 inches long, but some mature females have been measured at 64 inches. They prefer the coastal waters of the eastern Pacific Ocean, usually in bays and along rocky shores, sometimes schooling with leopard sharks. So it's actually really cool to see sharks of different species in the same school. So we've seen that in tropical reef sharks. So gray reef sharks, I believe, school with... I want to say silver-tip sharks. I could be wrong about that, but I think they do school together. And I think black-tip sharks school with other species too. I'm pretty sure silky sharks can be seen with other species as well. But it's really cool to see that this kind of smoothhound schools with leopard sharks. So more common names, not really a lot in English, but we have Mustelus gris in Spanish, or the Kazan Mamon, or Kazan gris. And I like this californicus hundhaj in Swedish. Let's see. No reported attacks, of course. Completely harmless. We already read the conservation status. Habitat: the Grey Smoothhound is found in waters over the continental shelves and is very common in bays and rocky shores at depths of 6 to 150 feet. They are often found among schools of leopard sharks. So, and we'll pull up what a leopard shark kind of looks like. For anybody who doesn't know, they're really cool. And very popular, at least in North American aquariums, but let's see. Really beautiful species, so these are actually really good views. So this is a great photo, a pretty famous photo of a leopard shark. Just like these beautiful bold spots. So it is the same family, it's just a much larger kind of shark than smoothhounds. They have a little bit more, there's something about that genus that has a little bit more girth, a little bit more adapted to hunting fish than bottom-dwelling animals. So, let's see. Just going to kind of skim through this. The Grey Smoothhound body is similar to other sharks in the family. Grey Smoothhound has... I definitely agree. I just saw your comment, Howard. Nice drawings. These are actually... The proportions are wonderful. This is from the Field Guide of Eastern Pacific and Hawaiian Sharks from 1967. So, but the proportions are excellent on this. I definitely agree. This is a great drawing, just because sharks are very, very difficult getting every little detail right as far as how each feature relates to the other, like the proportions of the fins and how they relate to the body. It's always very, very difficult to get it right, and a lot of famous artists get it wrong. But it's really cool to see that this is a good illustration. It's also quite, accurate. So. Grey Smoothhound has a noticeable spiracle behind each eye. The dorsal fin originates slightly behind the inferior tip of the pectoral fins. Lower lobe of the caudal fin is usually indistinct. The color is gray or gray-brown dorsally and lighter in color ventrally. There are no distinguishing stripes or spots. Albino specimens have been recorded. This is the second time we've seen a note on albino smoothhounds, so I'm excited to learn more. The Grey Smoothhound, as far as teeth goes, has asymmetric blunt cusps. These numerous teeth make up a pavement-like jaw dentition. This is actually pretty interesting. Ghost shrimp are among the prey items of the Grey Smoothhound. So, and that is a really unusual looking kind of shrimp. I'm not really familiar with this group of shrimp, actually. So, let's see. Primary prey items of the Grey Smoothhound are ghost shrimp, innkeeper worms, cancrids, I think those are crabs, grapsids, and small fish like herring and midshipmen. Interesting. Potential predators of the Grey Smoothhound sharks are, Grey Smoothhound are larger sharks, including the dusky shark, blacktip shark, and great hammerhead. So here's a blacktip shark in this photo. Let's see. Grey Smoothhound originally described as Mustelus californicus by Gill in 1864. The genus name Mustelus is derived from the Latin muscula, meaning weasel. Californicus refers to the area where the shark is commonly found. There are no synonyms used for the species in past scientific literature. So it's kind of cool to see that these sharks are called the weasel sharks, and you can kind of see it in the way that they move. It's an appropriate name where they're very long, they're very slender. They're not necessarily quite large. They're either small to medium sized. So just like actual weasels. So weasels being the mix of like actual weasels, ferrets, martins, I think is a kind of weasel. And then I believe wolverines are a kind of weasel too. And I think skunks are a weasel. Actually, let's look that up. But long, slender animals is the point. I'm actually kind of curious. Let us look up weasels. Because I always get confused in the family of weasels who's in and who's out. So the family is Mustelus. So it's kind of cool to see we have Mustelus, which is the genus name, or sorry, of the shark, Mustelus californicus, and then Mustelus, which is Latin for weasel. So here we go. So actually, they are all weasels. Okay, perfect. Sorry, thank you, Howard. Like, I always get a little confused. Which is which? So badgers. I didn't even know that badgers were weasels. Amazing. And otters. I knew that otters were weasels, but it took me. I had to really think about that for a second, because it's kind of an amazing group of animals. Oh, here we go. So things that count as weasels are martens, Tyra, which I've never heard of before. This is cool. Fisher, Wolverine, of course. They represent. I love this comment. They represent the largest order of carnivores. Never knew that actually. Ferret badgers, African polecats, grisons, otters, of course. Oh, sorry. Let me get the otter picture. Eurasian badgers, the honey badger, which is probably it's a meme. Classic weasels, American badgers, and then an extinct weasel-like thing. So interesting. Random question, Howard. Have you ever seen a Wolverine, or have you known anybody who's seen a Wolverine? And like, I'm just kind of on this weasel kick right now, because like I've heard Mammalian carnivores, that is, or mammalian carnivores, that is. It's like I never knew that was the largest, but it makes sense because the cats, like the big cats, there's not really, you have like a handful of animals, but it makes sense that weasels are more speciose. Dogs definitely make sense that weasels are more speciose. So interesting. But as far as weasels, oh, actually, let me hold on. Skunks. Let me make sure I didn't misspeak. Are skunks? I think you confirmed that skunks are weasels, but oh no, skunks are their own thing. Okay, so skunks are their own family. Okay, I always thought these were weasels, but I guess I. Oh, okay, wait. While related to polecats and other members of the weasel family. Okay, so the related to weasels are kind of close. Skunks have as their closest relatives the old world stink badgers. Interesting. We saw a skunk in our yard a couple months ago. Other than that, I think the only weasel I've ever maybe seen is maybe an otter. Otters, by the way, are just like river otters here. They're so difficult to find. My friend is a hunter and hot photos of Wolverine trail. That is so cool. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I used to really strive, and the word is strive, to find otters. And I don't know what it is, but like otters in Virginia, they're extremely difficult to meet. Very difficult to see. They're very shy, very secretive, and it's kind of funny because it seems ironic where otters are depicted as these playful, social animals. But they're very secretive. Like, I've been in places where there's a known population of otters, but it's just like no matter what time of day you go out there, I mean, I think they just know that you're there and they just don't want to come out. So they're very, very difficult to run into. Conversely, beavers, which are depicted as like obstinate and just kind of like, grumpy and secretive, I've seen a lot more of them, honestly, in Virginia. There's a lot of great places like with like beaver dams that you actually can see them swimming and pulling twigs and stuff. They're super cool. So, but yeah, otters are very secretive. I think I might have caught a glimpse of one once, but other than that, I think it's the only weasel I've ever seen. So let's see. We'll take a look at one more. Oh, that's so cool! Oh my gosh, I've had otters follow my canoe, acting very playful. That is so cool. I'm gonna star that. That is so cool. Oh my gosh, would love. Are they? Did you have river otters or sea otters? And like, I'm assuming probably river otters, but that is so cool. Oh my gosh, I would freak out for that. Oh my gosh, that's so that would be such an amazing encounter. I think the most playful animal encounter I've had is probably a river otters. Awesome, that's so cool. I think the most playful encounter I've had of a wild animal has been with a. I have two examples. I have a harbor seal in Washington State, which is really fun. I was kind of cheering to it and encouraging it to come over, and it was curious, but it was also keeping a good distance. But it was kind of swimming around in a kelp forest. That was super fun. And then sometimes fish are funny, where you're not supposed to touch fish, but I had it was like a little kingfish just kind of come up to me, and I just kind of like, I was younger. I know better now not to touch fish, but like just because it's not good for their skin. But I kind of gave it like a little tickle, and it didn't move. It was completely fine, and it just swam away. So it's kind of interesting how a lot of marine life is just very comfortable, or not comfortable, but kind of a lot less skittish than terrestrial life. So. But man, that otter story, that is so cool, Howard. That is, I would freak out if I saw wild otters. So cool. I see that on his fish base article of the Grey Smoothhound, we've got notes on Mustelus, so Latin for weasel, an ancient name for sharks, possibly referring to the pointed snouts, swift movements, and a rapacious feeding behavior of smaller predatory sharks, strictly not autonomous with Scalus musculus. Interesting. Californicus, of course, belonging to California, referring to its common occurrence along the coast of California. Let's see. At the southern part of its range, this species is sympatric with Mustelus lunulatus, but the two are readily distinguishable. I'd like to look this up. Mustelus lunulatus, which is the sicklefin smoothhound. And okay, you can immediately see how this one is a bit different. Has a much more pointed snout, has like the more angular fins. This is actually really distinct looking, very tall, prominent dorsal fin. Very pointed snout too. Okay. A common inshore and offshore shark found on the continental shelves and entering shallow muddy bays. Feeds mostly on crabs, including cancrids and grapsids, ghost shrimp, innkeeper worms, and small fish like herring and midshipmen. Utilized for human consumption. Not much else on fish base, so which is typical for fish base. Oh man, that is so cool. Oh man, that is so cool, Howard. Saltweed owls are very tiny and curious. I had one perch on my finger while hiking. That is so cool. Oh my gosh, it is so cool. I love these wildlife encounters. Also, hello Roy, welcome back. We are talking about the Grey Smoothhound shark, Mustelus californicus. So, and we went on a fun weasel tangent because the genus name Mustelus refers to weasels, but also fun wildlife tangent in terms of like fun wildlife stories. So please feel free to share any wildlife stories. I think friendly wildlife. Howard shared two really awesome ones. One with river otters and saltweed owls. For me, I shared a harbor seal encounter I had in Washington. And then a random, a couple of years ago, snorkeling a very bold baby kingfish that I got to. You shouldn't touch fish. This was pre. I mean, I honestly should have known better, but I gave the fish a little tickle because he was very comfortable being in this area in the same vicinity as me. But yeah, we were just talking about wildlife encounters. So we'd love to hear any wildlife stories you may have. So I'm randomly thinking. I would say the scariest wildlife originally is the friendliest, but I think the scariest wildlife encounter I've had. Uh, um, I never was in trouble, but being near a cottonmouth and like like hiking miles away from any kind of road or hospital and being near a cottonmouth was a little thrilling. It was really cool because I was deliberately trying to find one, and I did find one, but it was it's kind of wild how dangerous that snake is and how close I was to it, and how it's just there's no help if it bites you. So that, and then and I think I told that story before. Forgive me if I have, but that, and then there was this massive alligator in an office I used to work in that just it lived in a pond. I used to live in Florida, and this I've never seen an alligator this big, where it's the size of a car. The thing was insane, and it was fine. It didn't bother us or anything, but it would sometimes walk out of the pond and just kind of remind us it is there. So, but I've never seen. I would say that is the most frightening animal I've seen in terms of like that. My brain kind of broke when I saw it. It was like I was looking at it and I was like, this should not exist. Like I've never really ran into an animal before where it's like this is too big to exist. Oh, it's so cool, Howard. I encountered a black bear in a berry patch. We startled each other and ran in opposite directions. Oh my gosh, it's so freaky. Oh man, like I would definitely freak. I've seen black bear. Oh wait, hold on. Yes, I have seen black bears before. Not on the hike, but I've seen them. I used to grow up in a very rural area, so I've seen them from like my dining room window, and I've seen them on trail cams before. So they're super cool but freaky. Yeah, I love this comment. Scooby Doo moment. Oh my gosh. Car-sized gator or Godzilla. Yeah, it was funny because we were trying to take photos. At one point, we were trying to take photos of what we thought mistakenly were the largest gators in the area. So we kept a good distance, but we kind of crouched near this pond, and we're taking photos of these like I don't know, like 6 foot gators, 7 foot gators. Like they were big, but they were not. They were big, but kind of like what we expected how large alligators could be. And then this just giant is walking out, and we were like, we gotta stop. This is just too much. But this giant was just walking out. I was like, wow, this is way too big. It's unbelievable. Kind of as a wild size comparison too, and I'm gonna bring this up only because I've been watching a lot of Planet Earth. So like the sister series of Blue Planet. Something that is just a little mind-boggling. Let's do this size comparison, which this kind of broke my brain a little bit. So white sharks, we know that white sharks are enormous. So females average 4.6 to 4.9 meters. Males average 3.4 to 4.0 meters. So the estimated their estimated reach a length close to 6.1 meters. So adult white sharks, we're seeing like 3.4 to 6.1, but mostly in the 4.0 to 5 meter range. So really like 12ish to 15ish feet, right, for white sharks. Let's compare that with a saltwater crocodile. Saltwater crocodiles can attain a length of 6 meters. rarely exceeding 6.3 meters. Females are usually much smaller and rarely surpass 3 meters. But basically, this crocodile is as large as a white shark. Like, that is unbelievable to imagine that these two animals are roughly the same size. I never really put that together in my head before in terms of like, I never really compared like the largest predatory fish in the world that exists, the great white, with a crocodilian in terms of like how large that could actually be. And it just shows how terrifyingly large these animals are. Like, crocodilians are incredible. So this is a saltwater crocodile, which is native to Australia, but it just really blew my mind. A more accurate estimate would be weight. So let's compare the weight. So females typically weigh 1,000 to 1,900 kilograms, or 2,200 to 4,200 pounds. Saltwater crocodiles, 1,000 to 1,500 kilograms, 2,200 to 3,300 pounds. So they actually, pound for pound, are also fairly comparable. So just imagine, you think diving with a white shark is terrifying. Imagine being anywhere near, whether you're on the coast or in the river or just near a saltwater crocodile. It's unbelievable how large these two animals are, and like how they're roughly equal in size. It just never ever. It sounds dumb, but I just never compared them before, and it's just like incredible. So. They can gallop quickly, apparently. Yes, crocodiles, and actually a trick, by the way. You may have heard this before, so forgive me if this is just like common knowledge, but like you never ever run in a straight line with crocodiles. You have to zigzag, because by zigzagging you're kind of breaking their momentum and you're kind of confusing them. Similarly, as far as another trick, if you are in the water with a white shark, you never go to the surface. You have to sit on the bottom and try to crawl your way back to shore, because if you're going to the surface, you're eliciting a prey response. You're looking like a seal that's trying to get a breath of air, and the shark gets a little bit more interested and will get closer to you. But if you stick on the bottom, and if you're diving, try to find your buddy, and if you're on the bottom, and stay there, it kind of confuses the shark because you're not acting like prey. So it's kind of cool. I love tricks like this. So another one that's interesting is bears, where you have to be really selective on what you do with bears. And correct me if I'm wrong, Howard, because I'm sure you probably know more than I do as far as like bears go. But as I heard it, a black bear, you could definitely spook. Like, you could definitely kind of freak them out. You yell at them, you shout at them. You can start to kind of like, you can kind of mess with them and convince them that you're not worth the trouble. If they start bothering you, you can shout at them and kind of try to look bigger, make yourself look bigger, and just you could scare them away, basically. A grizzly bear, you cannot do that. You basically just pray for life and just stay still and just don't even try, because a grizzly bear sees it as a challenge. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure, and it's actually really interesting. Like I'm pretty sure that's the difference, where it's like black bears you can kind of outscare. Grizzly bears don't even try yelling at them because they will really they will really mess you up. They just will see that as a threat that needs to be extinguished. So it's just freaky. And then I think similarly, any kind of panthers, you don't want to try scaring them either. You can try scaring them with like oh, actually, sorry, I'm going down a rabbit hole. Okay, we'll get back to the shark in a second. Sorry, I'm going down a rabbit hole where I have a panther story that I'm going to put a pin in, because I definitely want to talk more about this shark. But hold on, I'm going to type this panther story. I don't want to forget panther story. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any interesting like wildlife tricks or wildlife encounter techniques, because It's interesting to kind of consider how each animal has like a different approach in terms of like how you interact with it. So, but anyway, I think we were talking about a lot of the basic biology of the Grey Smoothhound. I did want to take a closer look at this photo because I do think it's a pretty interesting photo here of the species, even though it's like recently deceased. You can see this like gorgeous bronzy color here. Also, another interesting thing about the Smooth-hounds, it really is kind of amazing how large their dorsal fins are, but how very small and underdeveloped the caudal fin is, and not sure why that is. So, but it's an interesting, unique feature of this group. So, oh, Howard, that's about right. But sometimes even black bears could be unpredictable. But the most dangerous are polar bears. Yes, 100%. Oh my gosh! Like you think grizzly is the worst, and then polar bear takes it to a whole other level where no remorse. They will hunt you and it makes sense because they live in a challenging environment where there's not a lot of opportunities for prey, and yeah, polar bears will definitely go after you. I told you. Hold on, I have a polar bear story. Okay. So, I've told you the polar bear story, right? About the oil rigs. Have I told you guys that story? Like it was one of my professors was relaying polar bear hunting techniques on oil rigs. And please leave in chat yes or no, because I feel like I've probably talked about this before. Also, by the way, really great. Sorry, that was a really great shot of the teeth. Here we go. Really great shot of the Grey Smoothhound teeth, how they're all fused together into this like single plate. So this is actually excellent for crushing shells or like mollusk shells or crab shells, because you can see that they're individual teeth like any other shark, but uniquely to Smoothhounds, they're fused together to kind of make almost like a ray plate. Like this is actually similar to how rays feed. So. Oh, okay. So I just saw the comments. Okay. So one of my professors, yeah, absolutely, Howard. I definitely agree that beautiful, beautiful teeth, like just really gorgeous how they all fold together. So just like, and how it's cool to see it's a shark, but it's cool to see similarly how it's evolved to rays almost. And rays do a similar benthic diet. They have a similar benthic diet as far as like they're crushing shells and eating bottom dwelling prey because they too live on the bottom. So, oh yeah, I love this. Right, I probably said this, but I'm starting to think Smooth-hounds are just unflattened stingrays. I love that. That is such a fun comment. Oh my gosh. So one of my professors for it was undergraduate marine science class. And they have done a lot of different studies around the world, including one study on oil rigs in Alaska. And one thing that they learned is that you never go out on a rig by yourself and without a gun. You need to have a gun and a buddy as you open the door and go out on the rig. And my professor was asking like, why do you do that? Like that seems so strange. And apparently, in a certain area, polar bears learned that if they climb on the rig and sidle up right next to the door and just kind of like stand on their two back feet and have their paws to their sides and just kind of be flush next to the door, if a human opens the door and walks out, the bear can swat it and knock it out and drag it into the sea. And there's been a few incidences of the bear doing that. So, people on oil rigs have learned that you have to have a buddy and a gun before you go out and open the door to the outside. So it's just like a terrifying story. It's almost kind of, in a weird way, it's almost kind of comical to imagine like a polar bear climbing up a rig and then standing next to a door, waiting for like a human to come out and like swap for its food and everything. But it's honestly completely terrifying. It's a horrible thing. Horrible way to go. But yeah, it's something that has happened, and it kind of shows how it's honestly tragic, but it also shows how smart the bears are and how inventive they are. But also terrifying. So another scary story related to large mammals, because I wrote panther story up there. Is I had another professor who he always would do this. This is also, I think this is also Alaska. If it's either Alaska or Washington. Actually, it might be Washington, Washington State. But he is a conservation biologist focusing on terrestrial animals, and he would take a group of students to do a study, and I forget what they were really studying, but there was a mountain lion in the area, and most of the students were briefed on it and were okay with it, where it's like, okay, there's a mountain lion, that's really scary, but like, we're going to deal with it. If we see it, we'll scare it away, or we have weapons or something, like, we'll be fine. But there was one student, she was terrified. She was so scared of the whole idea, and she was noticeably, visibly like, oh man, this is like really bad, and like, just I don't like this, So the whole class split up into two groups. So the professor went in one direction, and then another group of students, including this girl, went in a different direction. And they would regroup, break off, regroup, break off, like just kind of like continue to do this as they were surveying the area. And I forget how they confirmed this, but they were studying tracks and studying. I think it was a mix of like tracks, and the cat might have been tagged. So it might have been like radio tag or satellite tagged. I forget what was going on in terms of how they confirmed it. But they confirmed that the mountain lion was avoiding the professor's group because everybody knew that it was there, and everybody was walking through the woods pretty confidently, pretty calmly. And the mountain lion was focusing on the other group and monitoring the other group because of that girl, because it could tell she was scared. Like the mountain lion was actually targeting that group and targeting that girl specifically because it could sense she was scared. And that just freaks me out that they can do that. As far as like I've heard of animals doing that before, like sensing fear and using that as like a cue. But like that story in particular, that one just like brings me chills, and it's such a cool story. I mean, it's like creepy, and everybody's fine, but it's such a cool story, and like also really freaky that just this weird like irony that the person most scared of the mountain lion is the one most attractive to the mountain lion, the one who like is bringing the mountain lion to her, and to that group, is because like it just can sense her fear, and it's just so freaky that these people just broke off into all these different directions, but every time the cat was going after her, so it's just like it just was so freaky. Oh my gosh! And then last one, this is fun random story time. I am enjoying this, but last one kind of related to mountain lions. Not really a story, but kind of more of like an interesting fact is I remember growing up, because I grew up in Virginia. I grew up in Virginia and live in Virginia, and I remember growing up in an area closer to the mountains where my neighbors would say, "Oh my God, I saw a mountain lion." And every time I heard them say that, I just thought, like, no, you have no idea what you're talking about. Mountain lions live in the West or Canada. They don't live here. Like this is the East Coast. They're nowhere to be seen. And I remember I was talking to the same professor about that, saying like, yeah, my neighbors are goofy, right? Like they had no idea what they're talking about. And my professor was like, no, they're correct. And the reason they're correct is that big cats have an enormous range, and cats from Canada, mountain lions from Canada, will actually take the Appalachian Trail down. Just because they can. Like if they're hungry or if they're not really feeling like they're getting what they need up north, they will actually take the trail because it's a like wooded path that is largely uninterrupted. There's roads and things, but it's mostly extremely rural and very scenic and everything. Um, the mountain lions that my neighbors have seen probably were legitimate mountain lions that just came down from Canada via the Appalachian Trail, which is unbelievable to think about. But so I love telling that story to freak people out because a lot of people still. I mean, rightfully, like the odds of seeing one is astronomical down here, but still, just like I love stories like that. It just like brings chills. So, speaking of which, I'll dive into the shark science in a little bit, but if anybody has like a scary animal story, please leave a comment because I'd love to hear any kind of like interesting wildlife stories or like just freaky animal stories and stuff. So, Quackers, welcome back. Good to see you. I don't know how much of the scary animal stories you've heard so far. We've got some really good ones just through the mix of the chat, and then just some random mountain lion stories and polar bear stories. But yeah, I'd love to hear any or friendly animal stories because we started with friendly animal stories and we started going into scary ones and then. Mm. But please feel free to leave any comments in the chat as far as scary or interesting or friendly, any kind of animal stories. And I think with that, we'll start with some shark science on the Grey Smoothhound. So the big thing we want to find today is why is this shark have a higher instance of albinism than other sharks? The big interesting fact about the species that we didn't know before is it actually has a higher incidence of albinism than any other shark, where individuals from a specific area actually had a really high incidence of albinism. I love this, Quackers. One time I saw a snake, it was terrifying. That reminds me, I saw I if I get dive photos, I will post them in I'll post them the minute I get them because I did have people taking, or I didn't have them, but like people were taking photos of us in the aquarium. But I went diving last weekend in the Baltimore Aquarium, and it was cool. It's like I've done this dive before. It's a good thing to do during the winter to kind of keep my license current and everything, but. There was a 6-foot green moray eel in the tank. So it was super fun meeting him and just kind of swimming alongside or above him. He just kind of sat still. And then sea snake. Yeah. And then I think my favorite little moment was, and I have a photo of it, where it's a tarpon. This beautiful, like, how big was he? He was like 4 foot long tarpon. This gorgeous, enormous tarpon in the tank. So I do have a photo. He actually we took like a selfie together. So hopefully I'll get those from the dive shop, and when I do, I will post them on the channel just for fun. So. That's a good question, Quackers. No, so sadly, you're right, Georgia. Georgia is the one with the whale shark. I've not been to that aquarium yet. I'd love to, but I've not been to that one. I will say Baltimore Aquarium, and this was not the tank I dove in because we're not allowed to be with the sharks, but Baltimore Aquarium has a large tooth sawfish, which is a critically endangered species. So it was incredible to see it. It was such a privilege to see a sawfish. So, Howard. I knew some trappers when I was younger. One told of a fellow trapper who caught a wolverine, and apparently its mate stalked him back to his cabin and killed him. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! That is so cool. I'm starring that. That is such. I mean, that's horrifying, but it is such a cool story. Oh my gosh! It was so. like it just fits with like we were talking about animal behavior earlier. Like that is so interesting that a Wolverine's mate kind of avenged it. Really, like that's so cool. And like freaky because I've heard Wolverines. I mean, they're extremely tough. Like in spite of, and they're pretty strong and large too. But even so, they'll go after prey items so much larger than themselves. So it's so cool. Very freaky. Thank you for sharing that. That's an amazing story. Actually, it's so cool. Let's see. I have a bunch of articles for the Grey Smoothhound, so we'll kind of like I think we'll hop around. Let's see. We got vertebrae compression. This one's kind of interesting. So habitat use, and most of these are abstracts, but I do think it'll be kind of worthwhile learning more about the shark. So here we go. Learn more about the science behind the species. So habitat use, movements, and site fidelity of the Grey Smoothhound shark, Mustelus californicus, in a newly restored Southern California estuary. It is thought that some elasmobranchs use shallow temperate estuaries during warmer months because these habitats may provide thermal physiological advantages. However, extensive loss and degradation of Southern California bays and estuaries has reduced coastal species access to estuarine habitats. While restoration of Southern California estuaries has increased over the last 2 decades, little is known about the recovery of ecological function. Top predators are thought to be important indicators of restoration of ecological function in many ecosystems, including estuarine habitats. In this study, abundance surveys and acoustic telemetry were employed to examine how Grey Smoothhound sharks use the newly restored full tidal basin of Bolsa Chica. I think, did we see Bolsa Chica? I thought we saw that. Yeah, here it is. Okay. So this is the estuary that they're talking about, actually. So this is a picture of a Grey Smoothhound shark cruising in this very same estuary. That's so cool. So this is literally the same habitat that the paper is mentioning. So Bolsa Chica in California. So, and it's actually really great to see clear water as the shark is swimming towards the shallows. So that's super cool. We would call that a Chesapeake 10, sadly. Because I'm so used to terrible visibility in the Chesapeake Bay. Not in the mouth. The mouth is actually pretty good. But if you could see anything in the water, in the midpoint of the bay and up river, then that's a Chesapeake 10. That's a great thing to see. So, but let's see, Bolsa Chica. Grey Smoothhound sharks were most abundant inside the full tidal basin during spring and summer, and numbers decreased during the winter. Over 83% of all individuals caught were immature juveniles, and were most abundant when water temperatures were between 20 and 22 degrees Celsius. So that's actually pretty warm. Sharks fitted with acoustic transmitters were constantly detected for 6 to 153 days. Forays into coastal waters were uncommon until individuals left for the season. Grey Smoothhound sharks selected warmer habitats within the middle of the basin. However, they also exhibited diel movements along the basin. Smoothhounds were most often found associated with mud and eelgrass at night, presumably for feeding. Since its restoration, population and behavioral data suggest that the basin may provide juvenile smoothhounds with a suitable seasonal environment for feeding and growth. Very cool. I'm going to catch up on the comments. Christmas in July, more like Halloween in February. Oh man, Howard, they won't back down for bears, big cats, or wolves. So cool. Oh my gosh. Love this, Roy. It's so shiny, referring to the Smooth-hound shark in the clip. I'm happy to see there's actually more information from this article. So let's see. Let's see. Top predators such as sharks and rays are thought to be important indicators of restoration of ecological functions in many ecosystems, including bays and estuaries. Patterns of abundance and behaviors of predatory fish inside restored habitats may provide critical information needed to assess their ecological function. Many coastal elasmobranchs along the Southern California Bight use bays and estuaries for feeding, mating, and breeding. Unfortunately, information on the degree of site fidelity, habitat use, and filipatry is not available. These highly productive habitats also function as spawning and nursery grounds, migratory pathways, and areas naturally supporting large fish biomass. So it's actually really cool. There's a lot of parallels to where I am in the Chesapeake Bay. Just they're opposite sides of the continent, but they're ecologically similar environments. In Southern California, long-term abundance data suggests that most of the lazarbrings are strictly marine or marine migrants. Conversely, recent studies on population composition and lazarbrink behavior are showing that some of these species, like leopard sharks, round stingrays, and brown smooth-hound sharks, use estuarine habitats for extended periods of time, even across years. That's really cool. If a shark is spending an entire year in an estuary, or a ray is in an estuary for a year, that's actually really, really cool, and that's something that we don't have. In Chesapeake Bay, all of our sharks are migratory, so they're either here in the summer and leave, or in the winter and leave. They don't. No shark stays year round. I don't think we have any year round rays either. So it's really cool to see that in this part of California, there might be year round sharks and rays. That's really cool. Therefore, patterns of site fidelity and international use remain uncertain for many coastal lazarbrings due to lack of quantitative behavioral data. The Grey Smoothhound shark is a benthic coastal predator commonly found on continental shelves and in shallow muddy bays and estuaries of California. Large numbers of Grey Smoothhounds have been observed inside estuarine habitats from Southern California during the spring and summer. Let's see. Some lazarbrings are thought to use shallow, temperate estuaries during warmer months because these habitats may offer thermal physiological advantages when animals are foraging, for example, increased growth, reproduction, and gastric evacuation rates relative to colder coastal areas. Therefore, that's actually really cool. I never really thought about that before. So estuaries tend to be shallower environments, so the water temperature is warmer than offshore, and if it's warmer, then your body can function a lot more quickly, especially if you're a ectothermic animal, like a cold-blooded animal. And with that, you can grow more quickly, reproduce more quickly, and that's actually extremely cool because there's an inherent benefit in that, on top of the obvious benefit that estuaries are actually safe away from large predatory sharks. That can't go into them. So on our coast, tiger sharks and honestly white sharks are good examples of large predatory sharks that don't really go into the bay. So little sharks can have a chance to grow. But I never really thought about this kind of more basic physiological side of it, where the water temperature is also warmer since the bay is shallower, and that helps them achieve faster growth rates overall. So that's actually really cool. Therefore, it is possible that the Grey Smoothhound may be using shallow estuarine habitats on a seasonal basis for feeding and reproduction. However, it is unclear how long individuals stay inside estuarine environments, what kind of habitats they use, and if they return to the same estuaries every year. Cancel. Okay, just keep an eye on the chat. The full tidal basin of Bolsa Chica is a newly restored estuary located in Southern California. The opening of this new habitat allowed for larval dispersal and the supply of invertebrate colonists from nearshore areas, and thus the establishment of an early benthic community. The full tidal basin is presumed to function as a natural estuary, providing a suitable warmer environment for coastal species, including sharks and rays. Documenting seasonal abundances and behavior patterns of the Grey Smoothhound inside this new habitat may provide critical information necessary to assess its ecological function. Here we examine the population composition, habitat use, movements, and site fidelity of Grey Smoothhounds inside the full tidal basin. Since access to full tidal basin has only been recently available, this was a unique opportunity to use a benthic coastal predator as an indicator of recovery and ecological function. Abundance surveys and acoustic telemetry were employed to test the following predictions. One, the relative abundance of the Grey Smoothhound in the full tidal basin will be higher during spring and summer. 2, the Grey Smoothhound will exhibit seasonal site fidelity to the full tidal basin during warmer months and across years. And 3, the Grey Smoothhound will use and select mainly warmer habitats available within the full tidal basin. So I'm just going to breeze through. It looks like that's the entire preview, but it's a really cool study overall. So I never really knew that about estuaries in terms of offering some more basic biological benefits. It's so cool. Let's see, we've got molecular studies. Let's see. Habitat use by 3 sympatric sharks. Let's see. Nucleogenetic markers. Might go back to this first record of mating system in the sharks. Let's see. Fisheries. This might be kind of interesting. Similarly, does estuary restoration design alter the fine-scale movements of gray smoothhounds in Southern California? Wait, isn't that stingray behavior? Which is it, Roy? Stingray behavior for in terms of estuary use, or? And let me make sure I didn't miss anything in terms of an article headline. Sympatric sharks, gray smoothhound and brown smooth. Oh, sorry, I actually just realized this is hybridization between 2 smoothhounds. Interesting. So we might come back to that in a little bit. Mating system of Grey Smoothhound. You might be right. So you might be right, Roy, in terms of like if you're referring to using a estuary as like a not only a safe place to grow, but a more quick way to grow and reproduce. You might be absolutely right, actually, because a lot of stingrays do use estuaries specifically. So the one that I think of, at least on the Atlantic coast, is the Atlantic stingray, which has a really broad range. Oh, cool. Okay, yes. The use of warmer, shallow water. So off the top of my head, I don't 100% know, but I do know that Atlantic stingrays have a very uniquely wide range. So as far as like they can enter a lot of different habitats in an estuary, so they actually have a pretty high salinity a high salinity tolerance, so a high tolerance of lower salinities. So because I think Atlantic stingrays could even be found in brackish water, if I'm not mistaken. So, you might be right. You might be actually exactly right. And it makes sense where using warmer, shallower water, it probably affords the same benefits because, stingrays are, closely related to sharks, and they're also ectothermic. I don't think there's any endothermic stingray. So it makes sense that if you're in a warmer environment, all of your physiological processes will speed up. So you're probably absolutely right, honestly. So that's a really good point, and it's actually really cool in terms of another elazabrake using estuaries for the same kind of function. So it's a really good point. I'm trying to think. I know I'm not familiar with Pacific stingrays, but I know in the Atlantic, the ones that we have in the Chesapeake Bay, which is as a good example of an estuary, like a shallow water body, would be butterfly rays, skates, which I know technically are not rays, but like skates. We have like winter skates and little skates, and clear nose skates are the most popular one or populous one. Cow nose rays, which I love, bull nose rays, southern stingray, Atlantic stingray, rough-tailed stingray, and I feel like I'm missing one, but a lot of the classics that are like southern stingray is probably I feel like it's the most iconic stingray that we have on our coast. So, but those all do enter the bay, so which is kind of interesting to think about, where they are using this environment throughout in the summer. So. Oh no! Sorry. So yes, skates are rays. Sorry, skates are rays. They are rays. I meant skates are stingrays. So stingrays are a specific group of rays that have the barb, like the poisonous barb on their tail. Skates don't have that barb, so they have thorny backs and everything, but they don't have the barb. So that's all I meant. But you're absolutely right; they are rays. So that'd be really funny if I if I if skates were just like in disguise something completely different. But no, they are rays. So let's see. Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't mean to stress. No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, I just thought it was really funny because like I definitely should have phrased that better. So yeah, so because like it's kind of funny because in classic colloquialism it would always be because really it should be sharks and rays, because in classic colloquialism you see a lot of books are about sharks, skates, and rays, or references to sharks, skates, and rays. Like they always split the skates and the rays up, and I don't really get it because skates are technically rays. I mean they are rays, so I'm not sure why that split has happened in the past, but I don't know. It's just yeah. Does estuary restoration design alter the fine-scale movements of gray smoothhounds in Southern California? So this is similar to the other study, so I'm kind of curious if there's any... Oh, actually, it's the same habitat. Here we go. Restored estuaries in Southern California are limited in size and shape by fragmentation from human development, which can in turn restrict habitat use. Thus, it is important to assess how habitat design affects how fish use restored estuaries. Acoustic telemetry tracking from prior studies revealed that gray smoothhounds use primarily the eelgrass ecotone and warm interior waters in Bolsa Chica full tidal basin, a 1.48 kilometer open format marine dominated estuary. In a study, the Grey Smoothhound utilized the channel in Huntington Beach Wetlands Complex, a smaller creek estuary. The channel had more eelgrass and other available habitats, but also was the coolest microhabitat with temperatures below what this shark was found to select in the Bolsa Chica full tidal basin. Individuals may behaviorally thermoregulate by moving upstream away from the Huntington Beach Wetlands Complex channel during periods of incoming cooler ocean water. The Grey Smoothhound translocated to different microhabitats within the Huntington Beach Wetlands Complex, selected the channel habitat after the translocation regardless of where animals were released. Despite the large difference in available subtidal habitat between HBWC and BCFTB, no differences in patch size, utilization, and distributions of the Grey Smoothhound were observed. While individuals seem to shift between microhabitats based on temperature and eelgrass availability, the area size used by the Grey Smoothhound appears to be the same within both sites despite the differences in overall size between sites. This result suggests that the differences in microhabitat may influence distribution patterns of the Grey Smoothhound within each site, and therefore shark abundance may vary with the restoration design, basin versus channel. Okay, so that's really cool. I know it was a mouthful, but essentially... in these kind of like modified habitats, having a modified basin versus a modified channel may predict your success in creating a shark-friendly habitat. That's actually really cool. This information on habitat selection will be critical to planning future restorations in the Southern California coast. So that's really, really interesting in the sense that there's a lot of degraded habitat. And actually, you know what? Okay, there's a lot of degraded habitat in the Chesapeake Bay. Oh yeah, absolutely. Definitely agree, Roy, that it is really cool. There's a lot of degraded habitat in the Chesapeake Bay. And a lot of it is also highly modified in a way to try to help the environment. Where I never really realized until the past few years how extensively modified the Chesapeake Bay is, where we have a lot of, what do you call those? I don't want to say they're jetties. I think that's a different term, but we have a lot of deliberate structures or structures deliberately placed to kind of help with sediment control in terms of if you place rocks in a certain position. If you create, I guess it's a jetty. If you create jetties in certain areas, you have a pretty big impact on how the tide is going to take the sediment and the river flow is going to take the sediment and where sand is deposited. So you can kind of have a sway on how sand builds up or releases. So you can actually kind of build man-made islands or artificial islands or redirect where sand and sediment goes. And in some ways, if it's done right, it can be very beneficial. If it's done wrong, it's kind of terrible. So, but I really love studies like this where on my coast, we could probably learn a thing or two to kind of help our own habitats. So that's actually really, really cool. By the way, it is 10:30. So it's been a while since we've picked a shark together because the past couple streams, I think just with the winter, there hasn't been a lot of, and we've covered a lot of sharks already. There hasn't been a lot of suggestions. So I've been kind of like doing surprise sharks here and there. Also, speaking of surprise, I do have a surprise that I'll announce in a little bit. A good one. But it's been a while. So if you guys have suggestions for next week, and actually specifically if you have suggestions for a family of sharks, because we are getting to the point. Oh yes, Howard, I love this comment. Our track record on improving nature has been the greatest, and that is true. There's been, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But if anybody has a suggestion on either a shark species or a family of sharks that we can pick a species from, please leave a comment in the chat for next week's episode. So because I think since we're kind of knocking out a lot of groups, like we've finished all the lamniforms. But there's still like many very speciose groups. Like there's lantern sharks. There's a lot more smooth-hounds actually. Cat sharks are a big one too. Let me know in the comments if there's a group of sharks or a specific shark species you like to cover, and I'd be happy to do it next week. So, However, our track record on improving nature has been the greatest. Agreed, in the sense that there's wins and there's losses. So I've been talking about the bay specifically, and the wins have been bringing striped bass back, bringing bald eagles back. We've had success stories of effective fisheries management, but the losses have been like dams. I never really realized how really bad dams have been. And actually, as a good example, there are quite a few dams that have been constructed for the Washington, D.C. area. And in Northern Virginia, there's like, let's see, like the Occoquan Reservoir. That was a dam that was constructed. I'm pretty sure the Potomac has dams too. But anyway, but dams have been constructed that create reservoirs to help support the growing, and when I say growing, like ever since like the 50s, 1950s, the growing population of a major city like Washington, D.C. And so these dams are constructed and they're helping support the human population, but they have had a massively negative impact on a lot of anadromous fish. So herrings are a big one that they can't get up the river to spawn, so their populations have really been altered. And then the big one in the bay, like the big loss, is sturgeon, where we have a few sturgeon areas, but sturgeon are these amazing, large, incredible fish that just the construction of dams has really screwed up their distribution. So, but we know that now, and it's just going to be, it's a struggle where there's been like really sad losses like that. But there's also again been the wins as far as like restoration and awareness, like the bass and like the eagle. Like the eagle is, I always talk about the bald eagle, but it's a great story though, where they're abundant in this area. So we actually you see them pretty often, and that's actually really a great reversal because they were at a point of critical peril with DDT in the mid-century. So, but here we go. Somniosidae or lantern sharks, like the Caribbean lantern shark. So both are great suggestions. Let's see. So who do we have left? Because I think you're right, Quackers, that we've done a lot of somniosids. Did we do the frog shark? I think we did. Actually, I'm very curious. I feel like we definitely did the frog shark because that sounds so iconic, and that's a somniocid. Let's see. It's actually, I love seeing how kind of words work. Where somniosidae for the sleeper sharks, it's related to the words insomnia or can't sleep. Oh, thank you, Roy. Frog shark is done. Okay, so I think Caribbean lantern shark might be a really good pick. Let me make sure. I don't think we did that one. Yeah. Let's see. We've got a lot of the squaliforms. So we got cookie cutter, ninja lantern shark, Caribbean rough shark. I forgot that we did the southern sleeper. That's a good one. Okay, I think Caribbean lantern shark is actually going to be a good pick for next week. Let's see. I'm just checking out. There we go. Amopterus helianus. So, checking out my copy of Sharks of the World. And that reminds me of a prize. So, here we go. A surprise. Okay, awesome. Okay, so as a surprise, I have been cooking up a new contest idea. So it's going to be under development. I do want to save it for Shark Week, ideally, but if we are craving a contest sooner than that, I'd be happy to oblige. But I ideally want to save it for Shark Week. But I will say the prize is, or the surprise that I kind of want to share is the prize that I have in mind is brand new. It has never been done before. It is not a book. It is not a fossil. It's something really cool. So it's something that is shippable, but it is extremely cool. So I'm excited, and I think it's going to be a really fun year. For more contests. So this, I like just as like a little hint, a little teaser. There's something I have cooking for this year, for a new shark contest, and something that we've never ever seen before. Something that's never been awarded before, and something that I've been experimenting with lately that I'm really enjoying, and I would like to share that with the community too. So stay tuned for more announcements on what this thing is, but I think you would not be disappointed. So 2026 is going to be an interesting, a nice change where, yeah, please, oh God, no. Yeah, no. I would never do that. I would absolutely never do that. So thank you, Howard. Live or dead, like neither one. Fossils, I'm very comfortable with, but no live sharks. Never, ever. Oh my gosh, that's killing me. That's terrible. No, so I promise would never do that. But it is still shark related. And actually, as kind of a, let's see, it's related to multiple shark species. So, let me think specifically. We have actually, yeah, quite a few shark species. So yeah, it's related to multiple shark species, but it's something really cool, and I will share more details as we get into the year. But we'll call it like the secret prize. The secret prize is something that is being developed, and I'm very excited about it. So it's gonna be a fun year, 2026. So. But anyway, Emopterus helianus is a great pick for next week, the Caribbean lantern shark. So I'm very excited to cover it, and I think we're gonna make a lot of progress with a lot of it. And I'm really excited about this in particular, where I think one of the fun things about this channel and this community, and kind of the project so far, is it we've knocked out a lot of the charismatic species, and it's a great opportunity to bring to life and bring to light a lot of these lesser known species that it's like the rule is we're trying to do a new episode on a new shark, so no repeats ideally on species already covered, and it really kind of in a weird way organically brings to light like, wow, there's a lot of these small sharks, there's a lot of these lantern sharks, there's a lot of these dogfish or a lot of these cat sharks, and in a weird way it's a better understanding of sharks, where it's like, yeah, sharks are not just these like large chompy animals, they're actually en masse are these kind of like incredibly evolved medium size, like deep water, like we're getting a better understanding of what sharks really are, and a better understanding of like a lot of the popular species are really anomalies as far as sharks go. Like the whale shark is an anomaly. It is a superlative plankton feeding shark, but it's one of only 3 that does this. So I think it's really cool. I really like that we're giving a lot of the other species more time. And I love that each one still has something unique and different. I was not expecting, for example, that the Grey Smoothhound would have an unusual instance of albinism, but it does. So I think what we'll do is I want to see if we can find that specifically, any explanations to that specifically. So let's see. This is a connectivity. In the last 20 minutes, we'll kind of skim through the rest of these articles to see if we can find any notes on this. So we have connectivity and movements of juvenile predatory fishes. So it's probably not going to show you anything. Morphological and molecular differentiation of smooth-hound sharks from the Gulf of California. Let's see. It's kind of more of a in detail genetic study, so we'll skip that. We already read this. This is kind of interesting. So this is from 1921. So it's a much older article, but I'm kind of curious what this is. The bullet points just kind of caught my eye. So the stereotropism of the dogfish, Mustelus californicus. Oh, thank you, Howard. So good to be back here. It's so good to have you back. We really missed you. So we're really, really great to have you back. Especially, I think just during this time of year, it's always really like I always think of winter as kind of like the movie time of year, like the story time of year. Because it's like it's hard not to go out. It's hard not to like really, just kind of be in the sunshine and the warmth, so it's nice to have like this kind of like community, and this kind of like it's just fun just having this, and like kind of like I don't know where everybody is like watching, whether it's like dorm room or living room or like phone or what have you, but it's a cool vibe. So just cheers to everybody, and just glad to have you back, Howard, and just thank you everybody for watching. Yeah, I missed you, nerds. Thank you, quackers. I'm very happy to see you guys too, and it's just it's incredible to think that this is this really going to be? I think, when did I start this? This is almost. I'm going to be freaking out. This is almost 4 years old. I think this is 3 years old. I have to find that bull shark stream to make sure. Sorry, that just like really hit me. Hold on. Where globiforms, carcharodontiforms. Bull shark one was 3 years ago. So November 2022. Oh my gosh. So this channel is gonna, or not this channel, but this live stream is gonna turn 4 um, in November, which is wild. So math would suggest about 3 years. Oh my gosh. But it's 3 years. It's so cool. I've really enjoyed just like sharing the space with you guys and like sharing the space or having a platform for sharks that are just not well known and kind of sharing space with the sharks too. So it's cool. I really, really enjoy this vibe in this community. So, oh, thank you. You all are amazing for real, for real. 100%. I definitely agree. Everybody brings something fun and different to the channel and so much knowledge. We've shared so much knowledge together throughout the years. So now I always say this, but like I've learned a lot about fossils that I've never known before from this channel, and just yeah, it's really, really so grateful for all of it. It's just so cool, guys. So thank you for helping to actively shape this community and just creating this really cool. I always think of it as kind of like it's a cafe, you know, and just like oh, thank you, Howard. Like a cafe or a bar. I like cafe. You know, but like just like or a tavern, like a medieval tavern, but like a place that people could just come together and just talk about sharks. You know, it's a good vibes. So. But definitely curious about this. The stereotropism of the dogfish, Mustelus californicus, and its reversal through change of intensity of the stimulus. So this is an old article from 1921. But it's interesting, and it's interesting that they refer to the smooth-hound as a dogfish. This could be very problematic, by the way. So there's actually... on the Atlantic coast, there is an infamous example of this where I can't remember when this happened. I want to say this is like the 80s or 90s. I could be wrong, but it might be before this. But on the Atlantic coast of the United States, you have Squalus acanthius, which is the spiny dogfish, and Mustelus canis, which is the dusky smooth-hound. And in English, these two sharks, which have wildly different life histories, were lumped in the same group and called dogfish. And fishermen just fished them the same way. And that was a horrifying decision because the dusky smooth-hound, which can grow relatively quickly and reproduce relatively quickly, was able to handle that fishing pressure well. The spiny dogfish, which takes forever to grow to maturity and forever takes 2 years to reproduce, crashed. It just completely plummeted because it was managed the same way because it was put in this bucket called dogfish, and that's not really accurate. So we fortunately were able to solve the problem, and actually this is actually a good example of a good shark conservation story and a good nature conservation story. Is there has been effective fisheries management on dogfish. Where we did bring the spiny dogfish population back to a sustainable-ish, maybe not sustainable, but back to a level where it wasn't crashing. It's still a vulnerable species, but it's definitely faring better than it was decades ago. So, but the moral story is that it's so important to get the English terms right and make sure that you're actually honing in on a true shark species. If you have these broad categories like dogfish applying to two complete different sharks, you can create a lot of problems for conservation where you're misassuming that a vulnerable species is actually okay, and then you accidentally crash a population. That's exactly what happened to the spiny dogfish. So now that we split them up and are calling smooth-hounds smooth-hounds and dogfish, and treating the dusky smooth-hound differently from the spiny dogfish and managing them differently, we've actually stabilized the dogfish population, which is good. So that's a good example of actually positive shark conservation approach. And actually, now I think about it, the dusky smooth-hound has received preventative treatment for fisheries management in terms of there's I forget how they did it, and I want to say this is National Marine Fisheries Commission, or right, NIMS. No, National Marine Fisheries Society. Sorry, NIMS. Um, but they actually took a preventative approach to the dusky smoothhound, like a proactive approach in terms of its management, where they didn't crash a population and manage it later. They actually changed the tactic in terms of they took a precautionary approach in terms of how that shark is fished, and it's one of the rare examples of like a thoughtful, proactive approach to something. As far as conservation goes for marine life, it's a pretty weird success story of like, oh, okay, and some of it's a little bit of a cop out because that shark is actually biologically it's well adapted to handle the challenges today, but still we gotta give the credit where it appears. So it's so fun hearing shark conservation described like medical patient care, but it's true. I love that comic quackers, but it is true actually because it is a kind of the philosophy is the same essentially, where you can have if you're doing preventative care, you're helping to prevent the problem from ever occurring in the first place. You're helping. It's the wiser thing to do. It maybe takes more investment, but it honestly will save you from disaster in the long run. It saves you from far more devastating consequences in the long run. And unfortunately, in conservation and in medicine, so many approaches have been, let's just not address it until we get into like the worst possible scenario where we can't ignore it. And it's really sad. It's actually a good philosophy for anything, really. Like economies or, medicine or conservation. It's just that weird calculus of people not wanting to make the investment in terms of the right or sustainable thing, and just putting the pedal on the gas for the thing that is just going to be, maybe somewhat beneficial in the short term, but like going to just completely screw you over in the long term. And then they break it, and then they realize, oh, we shouldn't have done that. And it's like, yeah, you think? So. Thank you, and that is honestly, I love those quackers. Maybe just, I don't know, be proactive so you don't have to later. That is honestly the struggle of conservation. This is like truly the heart and soul of the struggle of conservation. Is that battle of trying to convince people you really, in your best interest, need to make these preventative decisions now. It doesn't seem like an issue now, but you need to do this now. You should do this now. Yes, sometimes managers miss the big picture 100%. Like it's that battle of like you need to do this now or you're going to really regret it later. So and it's weird, like in a weird way, in a weird way, it's like we see success stories and we see consequences. So I know for like climate change as an example, stronger and more chaotic storms, like harder to predict storms, are a consequence of not really addressing climate change effectively. As a negative, where if we were more preventative, maybe we could have been a little bit better about that, and maybe have not seen as many. We've had some really devastating hurricanes the past decade. This polar vortex is really weird, to be honest. So there's that. But on the flip side, one of the human success stories is we actually repaired a lot of the ozone layer. So I remember when I was younger, that was a huge concern. But we actually did effectively a lot of the approaches that have changed in response to the ozone layer resulted in us kind of repairing it and restoring it. And also, I know I keep talking about this, but the ocean itself is kind of helping, where there's a natural carbon sink in the form of the phytoplankton in the middle of the ocean are absorbing a lot of the carbon. Um, and it's just like there's a lot of things like that where it's like it's not all doom and gloom. So it's like there's a lot of strife in conservation, but there's also a lot of success in it too. So we have great medical, Howard. We have great medical benefits. They are often poorly managed as they don't treat medicine as a business. Oh man, yeah. So, and like again, just kind of bringing it full circle. I mean, medicine. It's a good analogy. And like, or rather, medicine itself. I mean, it just relates. You know, it's the same. It's kind of that same core philosophy of like doing the wise thing, but the thing that doesn't seem like it's gonna reward you now, versus doing what seems like you're. Um, I wish I could phrase this better. It's just like people don't want to like invest until it's too late. I guess is the way to phrase it. So, um, but on a positive note, there are a lot of conservation stories and success stories that are that investment. And I will say protected areas across the world, any protected area is literally that investment. So, and actually, even if it's not a protected area, like a park or like a national marine reserve, there's there's I'm just gonna use Virginia as an example, but there are forests in Virginia that they are used like state forests. I actually live close to one. There are state forests in Virginia that, like, ostensibly the idea is kind of like using it as a resource. So, like, growing trees and bringing them to a certain point where they're ready for harvest for lumber, right? So, at the outright, it sounds kind of like, oh, that's really bad. But what's interesting about these state forests is that these people have to manage them, and they have to do them like manage them correctly, and they know it's in their interest to manage them correctly because they want to actually harvest lumber. They want to make sure that they are able to have a constant supply of trees, and so this is really where forest management comes in, or any kind of resource management comes in, where there is an understanding of like, okay, if you just like cut every tree down willy-nilly, you're not going to have an investment for the future, and it's just your output is going to be like small, versus if you actually did conservation practices and if you actually like were mindful about where things were growing and how much sunlight they're getting and how many certain kinds of plants interact with other kinds of plants to create the best dynamic, you're going to yield a much better result. So it's I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole, but the point is, it's like it's always going to be mutually beneficial to have these preventative approaches, marine protected areas or any kind of protected area. Top 10 things we learned from the Lorax, exactly. Oh my gosh, 100%. Yeah, I want to do medicine. I often feel daunted by knowing I'll have to fight insurance and businesses just to take care of my patients. Yes, and unfortunately, I will say this because it's no it's no secret. I mean, the United States insurance is insane, and so it's like it's no secret. I'm sharing that as an American because it's not a secret. Like, everybody knows, it's just insane. It's so out of whack. Sadly, so just we love you, Canada. You're doing something right. Like, it's just, oh my gosh. For that reason, Quackers, it's just there's so I've had a few friends who are in the medical field, and more so in like research, not so much as an actual like doctors. Actually, no, I had one friend who was a doctor, like a medical doctor, but more so like research people, and it's just like we all know it's just bad. So go Canada. So I'm gonna read through these points. I'm gonna skim through the rest of these articles, and then I think I might call it a night. But I really appreciate these tangents because they're important, but also just really interesting to discuss. So But this was a 1921 study on dogfish, and a lot of the early 20th century studies were really about kind of physiology. It was a popular subject in this era. So the dogfish responds to certain contact stimuli by definite stereotropic reactions. These reactions could be positive or negative. The sense of stereotropic responses depend on the strength of the stimulus. A weak stimulus produces a positive and a strong stimulus a negative response. The strength of the stimulus necessary to cause a reversal reaction depends on part of the physiological state of the animal. The stereotropic reaction occurs equally well in the absence of the forebrain. Ugh, that's really scary, actually. So, and it's a reminder that smooth-hounds, and this applies to dogfish, spiny dogfish too, but smooth-hounds, they have been the subject. I would say smooth-hounds, both this species and the dusky smooth-hound, they they're good model sharks, and they're famous for being good model sharks. So, if you're familiar with the term model organism, it's an organism that has life history characteristics that make it very, very suitable for lab studies. So, the famous examples being laboratory mice, the secret of Nim, laboratory mice, fruit flies, zebra finches for birds. Oh gosh, there's a certain kind of fish. Actually, I want to say zebra fish. I think it's zebra fish. It is some kind of little fish. So, yeah. Howard, just want to acknowledge this comment. By the way, for the most part, I would agree, but there is a lack of accountability, which remains a problem. I just want to acknowledge that comment, and thank you for sharing that. So, because in any situation, I mean, that's also a major factor too. As far as kind of like part of like the bigger picture of what we're talking about as in terms of like conservation struggle or just any kind of management. So one thing the U.S. does well though is how rigorous a medical research process. There's like 4 to 5 stages. It takes years, but it really good at making sure we don't hurt people in the discovery process. Really appreciate that, Quackers, and thank you for sharing that. Because I especially appreciate that in I think in these times today, I always like to not lose sight of, and it's tricky because it's like a lot of research funding has been slashed for marine biology, which is really horrible. So I'm not denying that. A lot of the research funding and projects have just really been gutted as far as support, so that's awful. But I will say I do like holding on to and keeping sight of like a lot of the research, the shark research in the United States. It's been so beneficial for species around the world. I mean, it's really, we might not be the only people who have like led the way as far as shark conservation, but we've definitely been one of the leaders as far as just how it's established and like what you do. And I would give that to Australia too, 100%. Like United States and Australia, and many other places like South Africa and Brazil, really starting to build a lot of their research. Canada on Canadian sharks and northern sharks, really cool research as well. But it's just like I always like to appreciate. There's such a deep history of like wildlife research and shark research in the United States, starting all the way from I would say Benjamin Franklin, actually, hilariously enough. I believe he had a natural history collection, and that was like the basis of like the Peabody Museum. Actually, no, I don't want to get my history messed up. I don't know if it's a Peabody Museum, but like a lot of like the older institutions that we have, like the Yale Peabody Museum, the Museum of Natural History, both in New York and DC. Like a lot of these, there's a rich history of fascination with nature and also just like a really fascinating sequence of events that have developed into like and influenced a lot of the modern environmental movement and conservation movement. So thank you, Howard. Definitely U.S. has much to be proud of when it comes to sharks. So thank you. I appreciate that a lot. So yeah, I think I just realized it's 11, so I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. Speaking of the U.S., these are 3 reports from California Fish and Game, so I want to see if there's anything. The Smithsonian is crazy. It really is. Also, if anyone ever visits New York, the American Museum of Natural History is phenomenal. I highly recommend it. I believe it's right next to Central Park, but it's so good. Smithsonian is also fantastic. There's the Smithsonian complex, including the Natural History Museum, or sorry, Museum of Natural History. Hold on. The National. This one always trips me up. The National Museum of Natural History is in D.C. The American Museum of Natural History is in New York. I think the American one is free. I know the national one is free. So I'm gonna just type this in the chat for fun. But National Museum of Natural History, Washington D.C. American Museum of Natural History, New York. New York, New York, where Spider-Man lives. But anyway, both are phenomenal. Both actually have some really cool. I know American had an amazing traveling shark exhibit. Both of them have incredible dinosaur fossils, like unbelievable dinosaur hauls. And then I know the American one is huge. Like you could spend probably a week in there and maybe see everything. So, Gregory Spider-Man. The national one has this incredible IMAX theater that that's nice to have a free museum, very civilized. Thank you. And actually, kind of fun fact. I don't know how well known it is, but almost every Smithsonian museum is free. And it is for that reason of sharing knowledge with the world. So almost every Smithsonian museum is free. They all have you have to go past a security check as far as just like getting on, maybe not just like getting on an airplane, but you have to get through a security checkpoint as far as don't bring anything dangerous into the museum. But other than that, I mean, that's it. It's all free. So the museum, we have the art museum, the American History Museum, the Museum of the Native American, the Smithsonian Castle. What else we have? We actually have multiple art galleries. But yeah, they are all free. Which is great because DC is expensive in other ways. It sucks, but the museums are completely free, and that's something I really really love and I really appreciate. When you get to kind of the smaller museums or the aquariums, those are around the country. Those have a fee, but anything Smithsonian should be free or is very close to free. I want to say the zoo is probably free too, because it's the Smithsonian Zoological Park in DC. It's been forever since I've been to it, but I want to say that's free. But yeah, they're all free. So, yeah. So, yeah, and honestly, weirdly enough, this is such a random tangent, but weirdly enough, my favorite building as far as a place of knowledge in DC, I will say is the Library of Congress, which it's out of a which I believe is also free, but it is out of I've never ever been to a place like this where it's and I'll just type this in the chat. Library of Congress. It is the greatest. It could be one of the greatest libraries in the world. It is it's it is like a temple of knowledge. It's these beautiful sunlit windows pouring into these incredible statues of scholars holding up the pillars of this rotunda that I think is gold or something. And there's all these little nooks and crannies where you could just read books, and it's just actually, you know what? Why am I even doing this? Hold on. Library of Congress. Let me see if I can show what this is. Cause, yep, okay. this is the Library of Congress. So, and National Treasure does not do it justice, because I think there's some scenes in National Treasure in the Library of Congress, but it just nothing does it justice. It's let's see, we'll go to our good friend Wikipedia. Here we go. Okay, so this is the main reading room, which is beautiful, but it's nowhere near as well. Actually, no, it is actually quite beautiful, but it's this colossal space with these like incredible high ceilings, just gorgeous architecture, like just this. I mean, it's just beautiful space, and it's all about reading and all about knowledge. And I want to see if I could get any other modern pictures. Oh, here we go. Yeah, and you have these like incredible like frescoes of just like figures like in mythology, or history. So just and like look at this, like you're just like walking to a reading room and you're going past these like beautiful pillars and stuff. It is an incredible place. So this is probably my favorite like museum-ish thing in DC, is probably this museum, honestly. So, and also while we're on the subject of museums, I'm gonna look up okay, are the Smithsonian museums free? Yep. Okay, here we go. Yes, almost all Smithsonian museums in Washington, D.C. and the National Zoo, okay, the zoo is free, are free to visit with no admission charge. The only exception is the Cooper Hewitt Smithsonian Design Museum in New York City, which charges an admission fee. But all 17 museums in the D.C. area, including National Zoo, have free admission. So, incredible. Smithsonian... Oh, and that's the Smithsonian Castle. This is a really cool place, by the way. So they have like cool random exhibits. I've been to. I remember there was one on the top floor about bugs and like this really amazing insect collection. And then they had these like life size bugs that you could kind of like run around. Like I was a kid when they had the bugs thing. But the castle is really cool. It has just like random stuff here and there. What do you have? You've got American History and Culture Museum, American History Museum, Natural History Museum, American Indian Museum, Air and Space Museum. Oh, I forgot Air and Space is here. Hershore Museum, Smithsonian Castle, Arts and Industries Building. I've never been to this. African Art Museum, Asian Art Museum East Building, Asian Art Museum West Building, Smithsonian Gardens. What the? I've never been to that. Okay, should probably go. American Art Museums, Portrait Gallery, the Renwick Gallery is incredible. Gorgeous building with these amazing paintings of tribes from the Midwest. Super cool place. The Postal Museum, which it's all right. The Anacostia Community Museum, the National Zoo, Air and Space Museum, Advar Hazy Center. Sorry. American Indian Museum, New York, Cooper Hewitt Design Museum, and I guess that's it. So, but yeah, it's free. It literally is free. It's one of the few things in America that is free, which is great. So, but I think, let's see, I'm just going to skim through. I think we probably learned everything. It is getting kind of late. I think we learned pretty much everything. The food habits of Smooth-hound we already covered in the intro. So I think we're probably wrapped up for the night. But I think ending on this beautiful note on knowledge in terms of the free knowledge and how we do want to spread knowledge is a nice thing. So, good night, Roy. It's good to see you, and thank you so much for staying. I think we're going to wrap up the stream soon, but thank you guys so much for watching. This was a really fun episode with a lot of really cool tangents, and I'm glad we are ending on a note of just, I really appreciate the Smithsonian museums are all free, and that the purpose of that is because of all the things DC has been called, and rightfully so, one of my favorites is the nation's attic, and that's because it's just of the museums. Like they have all this knowledge to share. So and to the world, which is a really, really wonderful thing to do, actually. But I'm really glad that we could talk about those as well as animal behaviors and animal stories, as well as the Grey Smoothhound shark. So this has been a really fun episode to share with you guys. So thank you so much for watching and being a part of our wonderful community. And I'm excited for next week. Thank you, Howard, for the suggestion of the Caribbean lantern shark. I think that's going to be especially fun to cover next week. So stay tuned. Hope you all have a great week, and I hope it starts to warm up a little bit soon. We're almost out of winter. And I will see you next week for the Caribbean lantern shark. Cheers, guys, and have a good night. Night.